Okay, yes, I missed covering these for Halloween in October, but it was a busy month for me between Metaphor Refantazio and Silent Hill 2 Remake. Now it's November, and you can do the math. Excuses aside, horror games are always fun. So let's take a look at some adjacent horror games you might have missed in October. Starting with Clock Tower. It was originally released for the Super Nintendo in Japan only in 1995. While it was fan translated before this, Clock Tower Rewind is the first time it has been officially available for the West to purchase, which is great. I'm a big advocate of translating forgotten Super Nintendo games. However, I wish it was more than a port. There are certainly new additions to the game, like a rewind function, new music, animated cutscenes, and a gallery, interviews, and more. However, Clock Tower could use an actual remake to modernize its core gameplay, which is a bit clunky on its own. Rewinding a bit, play, you control Jennifer, who enters a new house with her orphan sisters one night. After hearing a scream, the girls go to investigate, and Jennifer finds body after body, along with a killer known as the Scissor Man. There is no combat, as Jennifer can only explore and hide like in an adventure game. Her speed is terrible, and it can be hard to click on objects. It's messy, but an important horror game nonetheless that only the most patient players should tackle. Phasmophobia came out at the right time in 2020 on PCs when we all needed social interactions online. You are a ghost hunter. You're loaded with typical equipment with, various flashlights and meters and recorders, and you get the idea. You take contracts to explore locations and set up radars to help capture paranormal activity. You can do it alone or with friends, and the better you do, the more money you'll get. Also, like an RPG, you can level up your branding. It's more of a ghost hunting simulator than a game filled with thrills and chills akin to Silent Hill or Resident Evil. And now it's on an Xbox via its preview program, a program that not a lot of people know exists. And while it runs, I don't think it's the best platform to put it on thanks to the clickable control scheme. It just didn't adhere to the controller well, plus the crossplay initiative, while cool, was also a bit gatekeepy. I found it hard to join sessions because everyone was far and away above me level-wise. It's a neat idea, but Phasmophobia wasn't really for me, at least for now, so I'll just stick to watching Ghost Files on Watcher. The Rocky Horror Show video game is obviously based on the cult musical from 1975, which feels like too long of a gap to make a video game out of it. That said, I can see playing it on the NES back in the 80s. It's good for a low-rent platformer based on the horror-ish movie. It borrows from a lot of classics from this era, in terms of games at least. The mansion is framed like Dracula's castle in Castlevania. You pick up objects and throw them at enemies, akin to Super Mario Bros. 2. And when you get hit, your clothes pop off like in Ghosts and Goblins, or Ghouls and Ghosts, whatever game you want to play. There's a lot of them. There are inspirations on top of inspirations in the game, is the point. And it doesn't play badly, which is good. So many of these nostalgia picks can be disastrous. The best thing is the music. It's awesome. If I wasn't afraid of copyright strikes, I would just let it play out. But go ahead and look it up. Anyway, what I didn't care for were the sometimes overindulgent word-for-word translations from the script in the cutscenes, like, I get it, you watch the movie, let's move on. Finally, we have Vampire Hunters, and it's another play on the auto-roguelike genre. It's like Vampire Survivors if it was made in 3D like an old-school Doom clone. Players will fight off hordes of monsters with the new weapons blasting on full repeat. Leveling up will boost these weapons or give players more, from shotguns to laser guns to chainsaws. The unique thing about this weapon arrangement is that it keeps on piling. It looks silly and hardcore at the same time, leading to some truly memorable setups. In Death, players can carry over some currencies to upgrade the playable characters, and there's a separate mode to play it more like an on-rail shooter. It's not my favorite roguelike of the year, or the scariest game on the list, but again, I love the bombastic gun rotation. And with that, I will close things out. If I had to pick one game to highlight, even though it is slow and a bit archaic, Clock Tower is just a classic that all horror fans should experience at some point in their lives.